I have some good news for you guys. You may not realize it yet, and you may not like it when I tell you the truth, but I have some good news for you that I think you'll find very interesting. And I think perhaps a lot of you wives and girlfriends will also benefit from this. It's something that I've recently had a discussion with a couple of different women about. It's funny because I never thought it was as common as it is, actually. I've always just kind of thought it was the guys that I happen to be with. And since then, I've learned that even some really nice guys, some really wonderful men who absolutely adore their wives, do this thing. I'm Melody Brooke. I'm a licensed professional counselor. I'm a marriage and family therapist. I'm an author. I'm a speaker. I'm a mom and grandmom. And I'm also a filmmaker and an actor. And I'm kind of celebrating today because I just found out I got a new agent here in the Colorado area for commercial work, and that should be fun. That's what I do sort of as my outlet and one of the things that I do. But what I wanted to talk to you guys about, specifically you guys, but also you gals who are dealing with this same issue. And I'm starting to learn and have some awareness around how it is that this happens. And here's what it is. Here's what happens. Once a man gets married, of course, he enjoys the fact that he has this beautiful woman that he's in love with and desires to spend every possible moment touching. That, of course, you feel that way toward your new partner. Of course, you feel that way toward the person that you adore. And that's great. And of course, I wouldn't want it to be any other way. The problem is that there seems to be this mentality among many men where they believe that they can just take their woman's body like it belonged to them. And I don't mean necessarily as in rape or anything like that, although obviously that does happen. Really what I'm talking about is how a lot of men, apparently, I didn't realize it was a lot of men, but apparently it is, a lot of men think it is perfectly within normal behavior to come up and grab their wife or girlfriend or whatever by the boob while she's cooking or doing dishes or doing the laundry or picking up the floor, whatever it is she's doing, just to randomly come up and grab their breast or their rear end or something sexual when the woman is in the middle of an activity of some sort. And maybe they're watching them and they're thinking, oh, I'm so lucky to have this person, and they just want to go up and show them that. But what ends up happening is the exact opposite of what these poor guys want. Because the truth is, of course, what they want is an opportunity to feel connected. They want to feel like their partner, is excited about their touch. And of course they do. Of course they want to feel that. The problem is that when this happens, the girlfriend, the partner, the wife feels violated. And I don't believe that is the intention of all these men. They don't intend to violate their loved one in a way that is very similar to what women are complaining about in terms of the Me Too movement, right? But what women are experiencing when someone, even if it's their beloved, comes up behind them and grabs them in a sexual way when they are doing something else, or at any time, right? When it's just a grab, and that is experienced as a sexual assault. And it is a sexual assault. There's no other way to describe what's happening than as a sexual assault. And I do not believe that all these husbands, all these partners that I've discussed this with actually do think that that's what they're doing to their partner. They don't. They're trying to be playful. They're trying to be sexy, maybe. I don't know. I'd love to hear you guys put in your points of view about this. But from what I'm learning as I'm talking to more people about this very topic, is that this is a pretty major issue that a lot of couples suffer through. It is not an abnormal thing. Like I guess I thought it was when it happened to me. You know, one of my husbands would come up naked and just like put his Johnson in my face and expect me to want to make it hard or something. I don't know. That somehow I would be turned on by just that coming up and doing that. And the truth is, women are not built like that. And maybe there are men that are built like that. I don't know. Maybe you think it would be sexy if your wife came up and grabbed you by the balls. I don't know. You tell me. But I can tell you that wives and girlfriends, they don't experience it that way. It does not make them feel safe. In fact, it makes them feel aversive to want to be with you in a sexual way. And here's why. Because when we are feeling relaxed and our nervous system is calm, that's when we feel happy and we feel safe and secure, and we want connection, we want playfulness, and we want and desire our partner when we are in a bubble of safety, of feeling like this is a person who respects me and loves me and just wants me as the person to be with them, not as though I was being treated like I'm a sex doll or pornography that they've been looking at. And maybe our society has drawn people into the belief that this is a normal way of treating another person. Maybe that's in pornography, or maybe it's in the culture that is what a man is to expect once he gets married. I don't know, but it is so common that it's really blowing my mind, because I did not recognize it as being as common as it is. And I know that it's not something that's necessarily even talked about in therapy. It's not something that has come up that often in therapy. I've started bringing it up, and because I'm bringing it up, the women are like, yeah, this has been an issue from the time we first got married or the time we first moved in together. And the men just can't seem to get it through their heads that they are treating their loved one as if they were an object to be used for their gratification. Like in that moment, a woman feels like a sex toy, not a person, not a human being with feelings and concerns and needs and desires of her own, but a thing that is available for them to use as they please. That's how it is experienced. Now, I don't believe that most of these guys think that consciously. I think it's just something that for whatever reason, they believe it is just a normal thing, or it is natural for them to want to do. And maybe it is natural for them to want to do it. But I think it's really, really important, if you truly love your partner, if you truly want your partner to want you and to be more sexual with you, you have to be thinking about the fact that they need to feel safe. They need to feel secure. They need to feel like you respect their body, and their spirit. And when you are using them in a sexual way, yeah, sure, when they're in the mood for it, maybe that would be fun. Maybe if they've already been playful with you and been teasing and flirtatious, maybe that might be something you would do. But just out of the blue, when you're taking care of your children or fixing dinner, it does not feel like a romantic gesture. It doesn't feel sexy. It doesn't feel good at all. It feels like you've been sexually assaulted. And I know that by far the majority of men do not understand, thank God. I don't want anybody to understand how that feels to have your personhood violated for sexual purposes. But it really feels horrible And what I have observed is that a lot of women, because of their own sexual trauma history, accept it. Just accept that their husbands are doing this. And they, even though inside, even though in their gut, in their core, they're cringing. And it makes them push away from the person who they adore and want to be with. They chose you, right? But when that happens, it's kind of like you have done your best to treat your partner as though they were, I don't know, a hooker that you had paid money for on the street. And at least the hooker expects it, right? She expects to be treated like that. Your partner, your loved one, your beloved does not expect to be just grabbed out of the blue and treated like a sex object. And I would love to hear whatever comments that anybody might have. If there are women out there who have experienced this differently than what I'm expressing, who like it when their husbands do that, oh, I'd love to hear that. I'd love to hear how that came to be and how you were able to, what part of you it was that saw that as being fun or playful or whatever. And that's cool. And maybe, it's possible that early in a relationship, right, when you're in that first throes of desire with your partner, that's something that is welcomed. Maybe that's where some of the disconnect comes in regard to that behavior. Perhaps in the beginning it felt fun because this is a new romance and you have all those hormones and that kind of hypnotic trance that we get into when we're in love. Perhaps part of it is a disconnect from that to moving into normal daily life, maybe where you have children to take care of and jobs to go to and houses to clean. And that starts to shift in a woman's mind because it's like, okay, now we're down to business and we have to take care of life. And we don't expect to suddenly be thrown into a place where we're expected to respond sexually when that's not where our head is at all. Our head needs to be in the game. So if you really want to be more sexually intimate with your partner, first off, don't do that. Don't unexpectedly throw your private parts in your partner's face or expect you throw your hands on your partner's body unexpectedly while they're doing the dishes or something. Don't do that. If you want more sexual intimacy, go in and help your girlfriend and your wife do the dishes, take care of the kids, and sneak up beside her and just put your arms around her and give her a hug and say, I really appreciate you. You're such a wonderful mom or wife or girlfriend or whatever. And let them feel that you appreciate them. And then they're going to be in a lot better place and a lot more open to you than if you just come up to them and grab them in a sexual assault. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. And this is something that I'm going to keep talking about, maybe not so much here, but I will talk about it more here, especially if I get some comments about it from both women and men. I am very eager to hear how people experience that. And I mean, obviously, I've not done any studies on it, or I don't know what the statistics are. I just have begun to become aware of how prevalent it is within the people that I've spoken to. And I would just love to hear more people talk about it, talk about how it affects them in terms of their sense of connection with their spouse, in terms of how much sexual contact they have, with if it increases or decreases or whatever. And if you are a man doing that and what's going through your head or what you're thinking about it or how it seems to you, or if your wife or girlfriend has complained about it, boy, I'd really like to know. This is just an interesting area that I never really realized was a problem for couples. And I've never read about it. I've never heard other therapists talking about it. So maybe this isn't new to other therapists, but this is kind of a new thing for me. And I'm very interested in knowing more about how that dynamic happens and what happens within the context of the marriage and how it affects the long-term connection that couples have with each other. Because if a wife is telling, or a girlfriend is telling their partner repeatedly, don't do that, I don't like that, it's not comfortable, please don't, stop, don't do that, and their partner just keeps doing it, that does not build a sense of trust and safety. It is sending the message that what they want, what they need, what feels good to them, their no doesn't matter. And I don't think that is what message you want to give your beloved. And if it is the message that you're giving your beloved, let's talk about it and talk about how it is you think that's okay. I'm really interested in how this works. So if there's, I just hope this is one of my talks that can really drive some questions and some comments and some interest, because this is, I think, a really pervasive, interesting topic that needs to be addressed in terms of our culture, because what it teaches our sons, right? What it teaches your sons when they see you do that to their mom. What are they learning about women, especially if the mom doesn't respond positively, which most of the time she's not going to, or if she does respond positively, maybe she doesn't talk about it right then, maybe she talks about it later, I don't know. But it does sort of leave an indelible mark on these children as they're growing up and learning how to be a person, to watch their mom be sexually violated. It lays down some training materials, perhaps, as to how they need to be treating the women in their lives. Just something to think about. Thanks for tuning in. I'm here every Tuesday as much as I can and as close as I can to 4 o'clock Central Standard Time. And I'd sure love to hear your comments. Please share this with your guy friends. Share this with your girlfriends, with your women's groups, because I'd really, really, really like to see some activity on here to get some input, to learn more about this. I think it's more important than even I have realized in the past. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week. Hopefully we can have some discussions between now and then, and if it gets lively enough, maybe I'll speak to it again next week. See you then.